All right, so it's the last day of Adar Aleph, the last day of Adar Aleph 5779, and we are learning Shmuel Aleph, the second chapter, verse 31. And we are in the midst of a prophecy, a delivery of a prophecy. The prophecy that was given to Shmuel's father, Elkanah, who is called here the man of God. The man of God, Elkanah, is delivering a prophecy to the high priest, to the judge of the day, Eli Cohen. And this prophecy comes at the heels of, or the subject of the prophecy is to inform Eli that his children are not doing the right thing. They are taking advantage of the office. They're exploiting the office of being in the
Kohanim.
Kohanim. They're exploiting the office of the position of being in Bet HaMikdash for their own benefit. They created a little business out of it, and that's absolutely not what God intended to do. And he basically reading to them the right act and telling them that this is it. They're going to be punished. Rumors of the behavior of those children, of the two sons of Eli, came to Eli's attention. But Eli asked them about it, talked to them about it, but wasn't so forceful, wasn't so animated or so strong in his rebuke or in his demand for them to stop their shenanigans. And they continued, and they defended their position that they needed it and they wanted it and it's coming to them. So God sent him the man of God, and is basically the beginning of the prophecy, or the beginning of the message which we discussed is God is reviewing the history and telling Eli, I groomed you from way back when, from the time of Egypt. From the time the Jews were in Egypt, I groomed your father, your great-grandfather, Aaron, to serve me. And why are you going around bullying people in my house and kicking my sacrifices? And that's not going to go unnoticed and unpunished. And I'm going to bless those who are blessing me, and I'm going to boo, and I'm going to embarrass and lighten up those who are cursing me, or those who are not respecting me. So that's where we stopped last time. We are
At this time, it was a job for life being Kohen Gadol.
Yes, it's always Kohen Gadol. The high priest is always job for life. Any Kohen is a job for life. The only way a Kohen is not continuing their job is if they can't do it or they become unfit. They can become unfit by virtue of becoming sick or injured.
Even in the Second Temple, I thought they had like a 1-year term.
In Second Temple, they had a 1-year term because they just died every year, and Yom Kippur, they basically didn't make it. And they all wanted it so much because the amazing things that they saw as they entered the Holy of Holies was worth it. So in the Second Temple, they would purchase the right to be a high priest and whatever. But that's way back in the future for now. We are in Shmuel Aleph, chapter 2, verse 31. So the man of God continues with the message, Hinei yamim ba'im. The days will come. The days will come, meaning that the punishment for the two sons of Eli, and more so just than the two sons, the punishment for Eli not straightening out his two sons, that punishment will come in future days. It's not imminent. And we are going to go through the story exactly, and we'll see the history of when exactly it happened, and we learn that it took about 70 years for the punishment to unravel and more so, and later on as well, for years to come, hundreds of years later, the effects of this punishment are being felt. And we will see also that this affected that family alone, not so much the Jewish people at large. The Jewish people were not at fault that those two kids were, opening a business in Mishkan Shiloh, so they were not punished. So in Yamim Ba'im, very strong word, Vegadati ezroacha, I'm going to amputate your arm. Ouch. Amputate your arm in not physically amputate your arm, but sort of allegorically speaking, symbolically speaking, in two ways. When someone loses their arm, God forbid, they're not dead, they're able to live, but their function is greatly diminished and inhibited. That's number one. Number two, the arm of a person implies their reach, how far they can reach. And one of the things that they can reach is it's the legacy. What do we leave here in the world? So there are those who live in the world a star on Rodeo Drive, and that there are those who live in the world children who are continuing their legacy. So that reach is going to be cut. The children, or the legacy of the children, are going to be cut. Now, what is the legacy of Eli? What is Eli known for? What's his claim to fame, other than being a high priest? So number one, being a high priest. So that will not.
Prayer.
What?
He heard honest prayer.
That will not hurt. So his children will not reach that level of office. They're never going to become high priests. But also, he was known to be a very significant scholar, Torah scholar, a superb Torah scholar. Eli was. And that is something that's going to stop, and we'll see how it manifests itself in years to come, that Torah scholarship is never going to be, it's never going to be easy, and for the most part, it's never going to be, period, for the offspring of Eli. The question? No question. So he's God is going to amputate his arm. Ve'etzroa bet avicha. Now, who is bet avicha? And it's going to amputate. It's going to stop. It's going to chop. It's going to inhibit the reach, the arm of the house of his father. Who is the house of his father? The house of his father obviously is a Kohen, so it's from the sons of the Kohanim, right? The sons of Aaron. But we have we had thereafter the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, did function, right? And we're functioning till this very day. So who is it that's going to be inhibited? It's the branch of the family that Eli is from. Aaron, as we all know, had 4 children. 2 children didn't behave right by being drunk, by serving God drunk in the tabernacle. Drunk spiritually or drunk physically or both. Discussion, not for now, but they were killed in the desert. 2 remained. The older one is Elazar, and the one after him is Itamar. Okay? Elazar, right away, after Aaron was passed away, he got the high priesthood. So he became the high priest after Aaron. And his son was Pinchas, who we all recall sanctified the name of God in the desert right before entering the land of Israel by killing the head of the tribe of Shimon, who was having a sexual relationship with a Moabite in the center of the camp, he sanctified the name of God by taking him out. And that's one of the things that Elkanah was mentioning before. He who is honor me. That's the way Pinchas honored God. So Pinchas was the high priest after Elazar. Now Pinchas lived for many, many years, hundreds of years, some say. But till this very day almost. I think actually till this very day. And which is like 400 years since he was born. But throughout his tenure as a high priest, he made one mistake. Which one of the mistakes? There is a discussion. One say that the mistake was that he did not prevent Yiftach from killing his daughter or from sacrificing his daughter to God. Yiftach was one of the judges. He promised the first one that's going to come greet me from when I'm back from war, I'm going to sacrifice to God, thinking that one of his cattle, one of his flocks are going to come on the way. He'll meet them and while grazing, and he will sacrifice those animals. But it was his daughter that came to greet him, so he didn't have the humility to go to the high priest to get his vow annulled. And the high priest, who was Pinchas at the time, didn't come to him, which he should have, because he was the leader of the Jews at the time, Yiftach. So that is, according to some, the mistake that Eli made, that Pinchas made, which made him, not viable to continue as a high priest. Some say that his mistake was for not teaching the Jews enough how to act like human beings at the time of the concubine that was dismembered, was raped, was killed. It was a terrible situation that he wasn't going around the land of Israel to help the Jews act nor to teach them the right ways. Whichever way, he made a mistake, and he personally was no longer the high priest. And the priesthood was moved from the house of Elazar to the house of Itamar. Eli was from the house of Itamar. The younger son. And at that time, God's plan was to continue with the high priest in the house of Itamar forever. But then Eli's sons acted the way they acted, and they invalidated their right to continue. So now God sort of saying, I've had it with the house of Itamar, because it wasn't just one person, it was a system. It was the two sons, and apparently it was more of a system that some other people followed from the house of Itamar, and therefore they were not, they no longer were worthy, thank you, of continuing that legacy. Now, one of the other, so this is the promise, and we'll see in a second when it happened. And then it completes this pasuk by saying, "Miyot zaken bebetcha." So he's the reach, right? We're saying that he's going to amputate the reach of Eli. Miyot zaken, that no longer there will be an old person in his house. So old person is two things. Number one, an old person. They're not going to live long. Now, God is not saying that the punishment is imminent, is immediate, and is total, like I'm going to kill all the children and done, finish. No. They're going to have children, but they're just not going to grow to be old children. That's number one. And another interpretation is that En zaken ela zeh shekana chokhmah. What is an old man? Is someone who acquired wisdom. So they are not the sons, the offspring of the house of Itamar, are not going to live long enough and not going to be able to acquire wisdom. They're not going to be able to be ordained rabbis. They're not going to be able to continue and in other positions of leadership. So the high priest is in one position of leadership during the time of the Bet HaMikdash. Smicha, being a rabbi or then rabbi, is forever, and there are many of them at the same time. High priest, there is one at a time. Rabbis, we have plenty, so they're not going to be able to hold those positions either.
So is he setting the stage that they will not reach the age of 60?
They're not going to reach the age much younger than 60, way younger than 60, the age of 18. They're going to reach the age of 18, but not much further than that. Most of them, yes. We'll see. There are stories of them. So there is one of the reasons, and the main reason, that that the punishment is not imminent, is not right away, is because God is good, and God is leaving a way out for those people. He's telling them, listen, you had a lot of merit, your ancestors loaded you with merit, but it ran out, and now it's up to you. You can change history, you can change the destiny, you can change your destiny. It will be hard, and you have to do it, but it's not going to be easy, and unfortunately most of the people from that household didn't make it, and we will see again in a second how it came about. So verse 32, V'ibata tsar me'on, and he's telling Eli that you are going to watch over, you're going to look from afar. Hibata is to look from afar. What do you mean you look from afar? Look from heaven. He's not going to be alive. The problem, the punishment is not happening at the time of Eli, because with all the anger that the sons of Eli caused God to have, and with the footnote that Eli didn't do enough to change their ways, Eli still had lots and lots and lots merit, and he was an extraordinary guy, and God was not about to embarrass him and to shun him in front of everybody and cause him a hardship, in such a, he was not just throwing him away. So he completed his term, a 40-year term, because he just died at 98. But from afar, from heaven, he is going to see and have a heartache. Some of the rabbis are learning that from here we see that there is a connection between the souls that are in heaven and the kids here in this world. That they're still connected, that they still have good, nachas and a joy from good things that the kids are doing, and God forbid the opposite. And that's one of the reasons that we are people who passed away, their children are trying to do things that will make their parents proud. Say Kaddish, learn Mishnayos, contribute in their honor, etc. Because it's not that the person is dead and finished and gone and there is no connection. There is connection. In fact, there is an interesting custom before a wedding, or usually before a wedding, the Chatan Kala and the parents are going to the graves of the great-grandparents and those who are not no longer around, and invite them to the wedding. Literally invite them, bring an invitation and tear it and put it on the grave. And it goes to like 3 or 4 generations back that they're coming. So when you stand in the chuppah, imagine who else is over there, which is an extraordinary image to have in mind, and I'm sort of into weddings lately. So v'ibata tsar ma'on b'chol asher yativ et Israel. So he's going to look from heaven and going to have a heartache, Eli, with his children, while the entire nation of Israel are going to have it good. Because as we see, after a short dip in in hardship, the Jews with David and then with King Solomon, we came to the top, to the best time in our history. The 40 years of Solomon were the best time of. That's what the Gemara is saying. So there is good things to come as well, something to look forward to. And again, he's saying, but all throughout this time of the good times and the bad times that will follow, you're not going to have an old person in your house all of those days. So let's for a second, let's just read one more pasuk and then we'll tell the story of how exactly it happened. But I'm not going to kill people right now as they are serving God next to the altar. Because it's going to cause you a heartache for your eyes, a heartache and a pain to your eyes to see it. And we will see later that he started part of, I don't want you to see this. Part of the punishment that will happen to Elias, we'll see later, he became blind. His vision became, worse and worse until he became totally blind. So he didn't see, all of the consequences of. So that's how it continued. And the translation over there is wrong. Well, it's not. It's translated as be sad, right? Your soul is going to be sad. Now, the word for sad or sorrow is da'avon lev, le'adiv. It's the same letters, but it's different order. The dalet comes before the aleph. All right? So God is not going to kill the kids right now in order to not cause sorrow to his heart. But he's not writing this. He's writing le'adiv. What is adiv is exactly the opposite. Adiv, a person who is adiv, is a courteous person. So to be courteous in your heart is exactly the opposite of to be sorrow, sad in your heart, right? Why is that? Again, is in order to maintain the honor of Eli. God didn't want to really, give it to him on the spot all the way. So his heart is going to be okay while he's alive. And most of your household are going to die while they are people, meaning they're not kids. Again, stressing the fact that it's not going to be a disaster for the family forever. They're still going to breed, they're still going to have children, but the older ones are not going to last all that much. At the very least, they'll last to make more kids, right? But they're not going to last to become people. Now, let's review the history of Yamim Ba'im, of what's coming, just so we close the loop on it, and that gives us a very good history of the Kohanim, of the priests. So, after Eli passed away, in a couple of chapters, there was a gentleman called Achimelech who became the high priest. Achimelech is already from the house of Elazar. Achimelech is still from the house of Itamar. Is not an offspring of Eli, but he is from the same branch of the family. Yes. So he became the high priest. Now, after he became the high priest, after Eli passed away, Saul became the king. Saul ruled for 2.5 years. So he was, Achimelech was a king very short period of time, because Saul very quickly started chasing David. And at one point, David passed. Now, after Eli passed away, Shiloh became, people abandoned Shiloh, abandoned that place, and the ark was captured by the Philistines. 7 months later, they came back, and they established the Mishkan, it was basically the tabernacle came back from the attic, and they used the tabernacle to have a place in Kiryat Yearim and in Nov. So in Nov, it was the city of the priests, and the city of the priests was ruled mainly by the family of Itamar, by family of Achimelech. David HaMelech, the King David, was running away from Saul, going through the city, asking for help, for water, for ammunition, for a sword, for some bread. Achimelech gave him some stuff, but didn't let him stay and send him out, knowing that Saul is coming right behind. Saul indeed came right behind, didn't believe that Achimelech didn't help David, and killed the entire city of Nov. 85 Kohanim were killed at that moment. Most of those Kohanim were from the house, if not all of them, they were from the house of Itamar. And this is where the prophecy of most of the people of your father, of the house of your father, will die out. So he killed them all, with the exception of one. One ran away, and that was a gentleman by the name of Evyatar. And Evyatar became the high priest, de facto high priest, but ran away from Saul. Saul was killed in a war. His son became a king for a couple of years, and then David was anointed, and David was a king for 40 years. Evyatar was loyal to David, to King David the whole time, until the very end of King David's life. At the end of King David's life, King David had 8 wives. They produced 4 boys. Some others, I'm sure, but 4 boys that were important to the story. Amnon was killed. And then, who's going to be the king afterwards? So Avshalom was the next in line after Amnon. And they all knew that David is favoring Shlomo to be the successor. And Avshalom didn't really like it, so he started a revolt. And the last year of David's life, his son Avshalom started a revolt against his father. Terrible. During that revolt, David had to run away and have a battle with his son. Now, the high priest Evyatar was loyal to David, and he was going around with him. And David, as all kings are obligated to ask God if they should go to war before every battle, asked the high priest, please help me with the breastplate, tell me if I should go to war. So Evyatar is going to the breastplate, is asking the question the right way, and not getting an answer. Now, guess what? The breastplate decided that Evyatar is no longer worthy of getting an answer. So they all understood it, and there was another gentleman over there from the other branch of the family. His name was Tzadok. Tzadok was the branch of the family of Elazar, and he took the breastplates and asked again, and he got an answer. Aha! The breastplate decided that Tzadok is the high priest. So he became a de facto high priest. He wasn't anointed yet until the time of Solomon, King Solomon, a couple of years later, but he became a de facto high priest. So Evyatar was moved, and he was the last Kohen from the family of Eli to become a high priest. Now, not only that he didn't become a high priest, he then, because he didn't like what happened, he changed his loyalty. And his loyalty now was not so, he's a high priest with a breastplate, they have Ruach HaKodesh, they have direct connection to God, they know things, they understand things, but then when they're no longer, they just become normal people, so they decided to with their own brain, and it wasn't exactly, the logic didn't really work out for them. So he started supporting the people that go against David, because David took Tzadok, his friend, but so he became against David. Now after Avshalom, after the revolt of Avshalom was killed. Now there were two left: King Solomon, who will become the king, and Adoniyahu. Adoniyahu was older again than Shlomo, and he decided to start an inauguration party in the last days of David. And he sent, with the presidential seal, he invited people to the party. And he invited Evyatar. He invited that, former Kohen Gadol, high priest, to his party. And he did not invite Tzadok. So Tzadok and the prophet Natan, which was the prophet at the time, came to David and told him, and through Bathsheba, it's a whole story which we'll get to one day. Bottom line is, David decided to anoint Shlomo that day and let Shlomo sit on the throne, and this is it. You are a king already. And Shlomo became a king in the life of David, the last days of David HaMelech. Adoniyahu hears about it, and he sees that he's doomed. And he was afraid he's going to be killed. So he runs and hides in the tabernacle, because there is the tabernacle can save people. It's a whole discussion how it can save people. It can save murderers, whatever. It's a discussion not for now. But he goes and hides in the tabernacle. Shlomo gets him out of the tabernacle and tells him, listen, you did something wrong, but if you let me rule and be nice, be normal, you'll earn your keep. I won't hurt you. Now, on the last days of David, he was sick and he was cold, and so they hired this lady, Avishag Shunamit, to take care of him and to sort of be close to him and warm him up. He did not have a relationship with her, just, a close nurse. But she was no...
That's Haftarah for Chayasar.
Yes, yeah. So Avishag Shunamit became very close with the king, and then David passed away shortly thereafter. Solomon became a king, and then Adoniyahu goes to, and he has an idea. Now, what should he do? So he goes to Bathsheba, the mother of Shlomo, and tell her, do me a favor, talk to your son. I have one request, one small request. I want Avishag Shunamit to work for me, to be with me. Thinking that if the whole world knows that this woman was with the king, and now she's with Adoniyahu, so that means Adoniyahu is the king. He was very, very much trying to circumvent and be underhanded, get some power that way. Shlomo, his mother, so now Bathsheba thinks that Shlomo's throne is secured. So she agrees, no problem. So she goes and tells Shlomo, and Shlomo said, might as well give him the throne. If you give him Avishag, you might as well give him the throne. And so then he calls Adoniyahu and says, your luck ran out, and he killed him. Okay? Now, at the same time, he also called Evyatar and said to him also, your luck is also ran out, and run out of here, and I don't want to see you ever again. I can kill you, but I won't, because you carried the Ark of the Covenant. You were important enough, so I will respect you for this, for that, but I never want to see you again, and just stay away, or you. So that was the demise of the family of Eli in that regard. Now, we were saying about that they didn't last. So there are a couple of stories in the Gemara that stress this point. One story is that there was a family in Jerusalem that the kids were dying at the age of 18, one after the other. So they came to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and say, what should we do? Rebbe, help us. So he said they're probably from the offspring of Eli. And the cure for them is to sit and learn Torah. You sit and learn Torah, you can still save yourself. Because it's not a done deal until it's a done deal, But as long as you're not, you can save yourself by learning. So that's, and from that point on, they changed their name, their family name, to the house of Yochanan. Because, we don't want to be Eli anymore. We want to follow Yochanan, who saved us. And Yochanan was a pious person, and it worked for them. So that is one story. Another story is that Rabbi Yochanan, the same Rabbi Yochanan, was trying to ordain two rabbis, Rabbi Hanina and Rabbi Oshia. They were both Kohanim from the house of Eli. And he wasn't, in order to ordain someone, according to Rashi, the Rambam thinks differently, but according to Rashi, you need 3 rabbis, ordained rabbis, in order to ordain the next one. So each time that those 2 gentlemen were around and they were ready to be ordained, Rabbi Yochanan couldn't find 2 other guys to join him in the court of law to ordain those guys. He was very upset about it. I mean, I can't, what's going on here? So they said, we are from the house of Eli, and that's probably why. Nonetheless, they are, eventually, I guess, they did gain something because they are written as Rabbi in the Gemara. They're being called rabbis. So they did make it. And they were, in fact, some of them really big people, and, if they learn enough Torah, it can save them. Okay, now one of the reasons they say that the house of Eli will die young, it's not that they'll die young, they'll die before the time. What do you mean they'll die before the time? The kids of Eli wanted to get their piece of the sacrifices before the time is allowed, before they allow time, early, so they die early. It's like tit for tat. And, but on the other hand, when someone knows that they're going to live for, probably, 120 years, it's not a motivator to do something. But when they know that they have 18 years, 19 years, they don't have a lot of time, it gives them a lot of motivation. So in the punishment itself, there was the seeds of the solution. Like, get off your backs and work and learn. And it's so that's what was delivered, the message that was delivered. Now, yes.
How many generations?
Forever.
Forever. So all of his descendants.
All of his descendants.
No matter what they do.
No matter what they do.
So if you know a family of Kohanim,
What?
people die in
Yes.
your family?
Yeah, we're punished. Yeah. Yeah. It's apparently, if you analyze it,
It's kind of hard to continue to have children when you're dying at 18.
right. But
Eventually it takes its toll.
right. So there aren't that many of them. But you'll see. We'll talk about the numbers in a second. But the point is that what was the point? What were you saying?
I asked how many generations did the punishment go on? You said forever.
So forever, right?
Somehow that just doesn't seem right.
Yeah. Oh.
It even says to the 5th generation.
No. Right. So it's right. So yeah. So there is a whole discussion that usually a punishment is for 4 generations, no more. Right. But here it was forever. Oh, that's what I want to say. So apparently we see from their uncles, from the two sons of Aaron that died because they were too devoted, that there is something in the DNA that is extreme one way or extreme another way. Something was not, something was not right, because 3 of the children end up doing things that are not right. Only Elazar turn out to be okay. So it's sort of a yeah.
Doesn't seem measure for measure.
It's
And in fact, it says that even a great rabbi, okay, rabbi,
Right.
who was from the family, died at age 40 because of the curse of the family of Eli.
right.
I mean, he was a great rabbi.
Right.
He was,
And
in the Dawn period, he was, and yet his life was cut short.
exactly. So
Doesn't seem measure for measure.
right.
Doesn't seem-
So yeah, there are maybe next time I'll bring some of the answers for that, because there is a whole discussion about the generations. But I wanted to
Oh, okay.
yeah we'll. So and then the next verse, verse 34, is giving a sign, which is again it's a heartbreaking sign. V'zeh lecha ha'ot, and that will be the sign. The man of God, father of Shmuel, is telling Eli, this is the sign that all of that is going to become true. That asher yavo shne banecha, what will happen to your two sons, El Chofni uPinchas. Those two, that's the names of them, Chofni uPinchas. B'yom echad yamutu shneim, they're going to die both in the same day. And from here, the rabbis are saying that as if you need a sign. If two brothers die on the same day, it's a really bad sign. I mean, it's funny it's sad to say, but whatever. That's what they're mentioning. It's a really bad sign. Anyway.
Is this a different Pinchas?
Yes, of course. It's not Ben Pinchas Ben Elazar. No, of course. And sorry about that. And V'hakimoti li kohen ne'eman, and God is saying, and I'm going to find someone loyal. I'm going to find someone loyal. V'hakimoti li kohen ne'eman kasher bilvavi. I'm going to find someone loyal, which is going to be I'll be agreeable to my heart. Ubenafshi yaseh ubaniti lo bait ne'eman, and he's going to do what I like, and I'm going to build for him in return a loyal house, a house that's going to. I'm going to be loyal to him as much as he's loyal to me. V'yitalech lifnei meshichi kol hayamim, and he is going to be serving in front of my Mashiach. Now, what is Mashiach? Mashiach is the name for a king, because all of the kings of from David on, the kings are potential messiahs, right? Mm-hmm. So this verse is specifying the hierarchy in Jewish leadership. The top is the king that can be Mashiach, and in front of him there is the high priest who is serving him as the vehicle to talk to God or to communicate with God. Now it says Kol hayamim, all of the days that there is a king, because nowadays we don't have a king. Nonetheless, the high priest, the priests, the Kohanim exists, right? So the Kohanim are not in front of Mashiach right now. So only at the days that we have a king, then the high priest is going to serve in front of the Mashiach, in front of the king. On the days that we don't have a king, they're just going to rise up to the top level. So that's basically the hierarchy of Jewish leadership. And we're just going to finish the last pasuk in the chapter, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Vaya kol hanotar bevetcha. This is the last part of the punishment. The beginning is they're not going to last. They're not going to be ordained. They're not going to be wise. They're not going to be able to. The generations are not going to be continuing for in any special way, and they're also going to be poor, and they're also not going to be able to make a living. They try to make a living of God, that's not, and apparently, and this is probably an answer for you, that it's in their DNA to not be able to get over themselves. So they just can't dedicate themselves to God fully. and that's why.
But if the heir of his two sons was the improper way they handled the priesthood, if their descendants never really participated in the priesthood,
Right.
they couldn't possibly commit the same sins.
Right, but that's true. So, this is the part that I'm going to answer next time. I promise. God, bli neder. So, והיה כל הנותר בביתך יבוא, and all of those who will be left after the ones that will die young will be gone. All of those who will remain, that when they come to להשתחוות לו, they're going to come to God. They're going to have to come to basically shnor, to collect money, לאגורת כסף וכיכר לחם. They would not be able to make it, and they will ask for money. ואמר ספחני נא אל אחד הכהונות לאכול פת לחם. Bring me in to join me, connect me to the, let me be with you, with the rest of the Kohanim, with the rest of the priests who are able to make it. Now, what does that mean? The Kohanim were divided to groups, and each group was serving about a week. And they would rotate. Moshe started with 8 groups, 4 from each branch of the family, from Itamar and Elazar, and they would do a round robin. And Shmuel, because of natural population growth, Shmuel doubled it to 16, and David doubled it yet to 24. And they would serve each one for a week, and then so it's a couple times a year they would come. And during the holidays of Sukkot, Shavuot, and Pesach, all of the Kohanim from all of the land of Israel would come to service, because all of the Jews will come, and they'll bring a lot of sacrifices. There will be a lot of work. You need a lot of hands, so everybody is going to come in those days. The story goes that when after the exile of Bavel, when they came back, only 4 families came, only 4 groups came, and they are stating the size of the groups. The size of the groups are 4,289. That's only 4 groups, which means that each one of those groups was about 1,000 people. It's a lot of people. Okay, so but then they further divide them to 24, again to not reduce the number of shifts. And the last thing that I'll say real briefly is that one of the things that happened after Shiloh was abandoned is that the Jews were allowed to create their own private altars. And they were allowed to create their own private altars because that will give them no motivation to go to the central location. And therefore, the sons of Eli who are going to be there, the sons of Itamar that's going to be there, not going to have anything to draw from. They're not going to have any sacrifices to take their peace from, because the Jews would be sacrificing each in their own backyard. That's the end of chapter 3. I'm going to answer this question about the generations next time, and we'll continue with chapter 3.